I hope we are enjoying our time here. So, my name is Asare Nyarko. I lead Center for Financial Literacy Education Africa. Center for Financial Literacy Education Africa is basically building sustainable communities of financial literacy. We develop and promote financial literacy skills, and our flagship is to reach all the 54 African countries so we can inspire people to create sustainable wealth for themselves and their family. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Peter, and thank you, everyone. My name is Gifty Boatma, and I think the MC butchered my name. That's fine. However, I don't even know why we're having this panel session in the first place, because from the first professor to our very own South African lecturer, I don't know, almost everything on holistic leadership has been said. And so at this point, I'm even wondering what we are exactly going to say. However, like I said, I'm Gifty. I lead an organization called the West Lion Co. And what we do is basically a movement on entrepreneurship. One of the things that we have come to identify as key enablers of economic development and transformation has to do with entrepreneurship. And so for that reason, we are looking forward and we envision a future where young African entrepreneurs will become key drivers of economic development in Africa. And so almost every single thing we do is about promoting entrepreneurship, right from the secondary cycle education to the universities to our young entrepreneurs across the continent. Yearly, I host an annual event called the Africa Entrepreneurship Accelerator Summit. And at this summit, we bring together young entrepreneurs doing amazing things, innovators on the continents, just to be able to discuss and see the way forward for the continent. I think this will be the bit about me. Thank you.
I'm sure that they will get the other microphone fixed or have a seamless transition. Yeah, that was not a bit, that was a whole lot about you. Thank you. I know we've heard from the professor to the doctor from South Africa speak on holistic leadership. So to really drive it home, I want us to, can you share examples of leaders who embody holistic leadership principles and what sets them apart from traditional leaders? You know, so in Africa or across the world, leaders, examples of leaders who embody holistic leadership principles. Any you can think of, should the lady go first? From the workplace, government to military, yeah.
Leaders. Well, I think I would probably take Nelson Mandela. I'm going to maybe talk a bit about Nelson Mandela and a few of the principles that he embodied as a leader, not necessarily a president, because I think most of Nelson Mandela's life was spent while he was in prison. And if you carefully examine the life that Nelson Mandela lived, even away in prison, you see a leader who wasn't even compromising on his virtues and his values and his ethics. For a man to be in prison for 27 years, if I'm right, and come out of prison to take the helm of leadership. I remember a particular quote Nelson Mandela made when he was coming from prison. He said, "I realize that if I do not forgive and I don't let go whilst I come through the prison doors to the outside world, I'm still going to be a prisoner even though I've been made free." Now this was a man who understood what holistic leadership meant beyond just leading people. He understood that it was about him first, that holistic leadership had to do with him being in touch with himself. So the man ensured that he was in touch and in tune with his own values. He said, I'm going to forgive, ensure that I take myself away from the prison of unforgiveness, so that when I come into the limelight to lead people, I can lead them with a good heart. And for me, I think Nelson Mandela embodies such kind of holistic leadership that we are looking at today. Thank you.
Great. So when I was looking at some of the leaders who embodied holistic leadership, I think Nelson Mandela was one of the leaders I settled on. I also settled on Lee Kuan Yew. He transformed Singapore from a third world country to where it is now. And when you look at his leadership style, he had a personal conviction to transform his country. And he was able to put the people together. So he also led the people. And so when you talk about holistic leadership, you are talking about self-leadership, people leadership, and legacy leadership. He led himself, he had a personal conviction, and he was able to put the people together, and they transformed Singapore. And even he's no more, but looking at what he has done, it is transcending beyond his generation. And so he's someone who, for me, I can say, he exhibited a holistic leadership style. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We have so many of them, and I strongly believe that a few more examples are going to be emerging from this room, because sometimes we look at people in positions of power, and we neglect people around us that are exhibiting quality and balanced leadership. So I believe that holistic leadership is balanced leadership. For example, in a company, in an organization, HR understanding that the HR's ability to balance projects and people management. Understand that, yeah, we need to hit the target, but we need to also take care of the people. We need to be disciplined, but we need to also have empathy. So holistic leadership is having that balanced leadership culture at every point in time. So we are not going to spend so much time here because I want the audience to ask questions, right? What are those balanced qualities that leaders need to begin to live by in organizations, at home? Because we have some extremes. This is Africa, right? And a lot of people believe that leadership is exerting authority and power, on people, whether at work, I'm the boss here, I'm the father, the lion of the tribe of Judah kind of leadership style. So what are those balanced leadership qualities that you would prefer from your work, from your experiences and your work, that you begin to prefer to people that we can begin to live now until we get to the top? Maybe Peter should go first this time. All right.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would say, first and foremost, as a leader, you should have a neutral mind, an open mind, where you welcome diverse views for people. You don't just command instructions, but you listen to your subordinates, you listen to your followers, and you should try as much as possible to involve them. So having a neutral mind is something that can help an organization or help a leader to welcome new ideas. Also, a leader should be able to collaborate with others. And so if you want to foster holistic leadership, you should be able to encourage collaboration. You should be able to welcome others, work together with people. You are not the ultimate decision maker. So some leaders will just take decisions because they feel they have to take them. But then you also need to work with others to be able to exhibit that power in you. And so at Center for Financial Literacy Education, one thing we do is we try to involve community, because our bigger goal is to create community impact, to make sure all Africans acquire financial literacy skills. We are fostering collaboration. And so, for example, in Tanzania, CFLE Africa cannot work directly in Tanzania. There are different country laws and all that. So setting up an organization in Tanzania, you have to go through their process. So what we did was we collaborated with an organization in Tanzania, an NGO, And so everything we are executing here in Ghana, they are also executing that on our behalf. And so we don't necessarily need to set up a brick and mortar office in Tanzania. In Uganda, we did same. In Malawi, we did same. In South Africa, we did same. And so we are collaborating with others to make sure our goal of building sustainable communities in Africa will become possible. And so as a leader, for you to foster that collaboration, it's key if you want to be a holistic leader. I also want to talk about community participation, or what I call localization. And so, for example, if we want to include everybody, then we need to localize or involve the community. So one time we went to a village in the eastern part of Ghana, so Asiojaman district. And in that community, we realized the people there, if you speak English, they won't understand. If you speak Twi, they won't understand. And so you have to speak in their language because you want to involve them. And so what we did was, we got someone who understands the language we are speaking, so he can translate that language to the people. In this sense, we are involving the people. We are making sure diversity, inclusion is being met. And so when we present, that person also translates so that people can understand. And so as a leader, you should take all these things into consideration and work your way around it. Thank you.
Has Peter not answered everything? But I think one thing that I would add would be the fact that a leader would have to ensure that he has deep understanding of the complex systems within which he operates. Now, I believe it's the starting point of collaboration, is the starting point of innovation, is the starting point of diversification. Why? Because if you don't get to understand the systems you operate with, the stakeholders you operate. I'm going to give an example. An example is the fact that we lived in a world, let me say we lived in a world that, let me take the agricultural sector. People in the agricultural sector did a lot of things, were planting stuff, getting the earth to give them a lot of food. They thought their only stakeholders were the consumers, people who were eating the plants that were coming through. And probably they thought their only stakeholders were, the investors who were investing in the companies. However, we have come to a place and a time in today's world where we have come to understand that climate is a stakeholder. Where we have come to understand that the environment is a stakeholder, even in our agricultural activities. And so today you see that billions of dollars have to be exerted to correct the mistakes that have been done over time. Why? Because a certain group of people did not understand the complexities of the operations within which they work. It's not only them. Let me talk about drivers on the road. Drivers may think that their only stakeholders probably are the passengers. But one of the things that drivers don't understand is that their stakeholders involve the roads itself is a stakeholder. The way you drive on the road affects the road. It all comes together. The pieces of our organizations that makes them. Take the body for instance. We have the eyes, we have the nose, and a leader has to come to a point where he understands, first of all, recognizes, two, prioritizes the interconnectedness, the interdependence, and the integration of the various stakeholders within the organization. And I believe that these are the things that bring about long-term sustainability. So if you're going into a venture, or one way or the other you are leading, and it can even be just about yourself, you have to understand that you don't just wake up in the morning and make any decision just because it affects or it pleases only you. Your mother will be affected by that decision. Your father will be affected by that decision. Your siblings are likely to be affected. The friends you have are going to be affected by that decision. It makes you understand that even though we are individuals within our various homes, probably in our corners, every single thing we do affects the whole. I work with a lot of young female entrepreneurs, and one of the things I tell them, I say, if you cook food, if you are a seller and you cook for people to eat, do not think that the person that comes to purchase your food is the only person you affect. Let's say, God forbid, but you do not cook the food well and the person gets food poisoning. It becomes a burden on an entire family. Finances in the family begins to drain just because one person cooked a particular food. And you thought you were serving just one person, Wachi. I'm sorry, those of you who are not Ghanaians. Do you understand? Or we should take it to the Jollof context. should we keep it with the Wachi, or we should do the Jollof? That's fine. So that's the whole point. We are on this. He told us that once he's on the mic, the fight is not yet. So I'm on the mic now. But that's the whole point. The point that you begin to see the things that you do, the decisions you make, going beyond yourself, even beyond your immediate, to the external. I always say to people who are very influential, I have a friend who is very influential on social media, has 10,000s of followers, and I tell him, listen, there are a lot of people who are watching you, you will never get the opportunity to see.
Right.
Now you are mentoring people miles away from you. I have people here in Ghana who dress like Jay-Z, and Jay-Z doesn't even know them. They dress like Burna Boy. Burna Boy might never get to see them.
Who's that?
They dress like Shatawale. and Shatawale may never get to meet them. But the point is this: whatever we do affects people beyond our immediate environment. And so as a leader, you need to understand the complexities of what you are dealing with so that it can shape your daily routine and the decisions you make on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very powerful. Well, I wish we can really go on and on in this conversation, but we have kept a lot of people waiting here since as early as 8 a.m. So we need to really get moving. How many of you have been inspired by this conversation? Can I take one question from the audience? You have anybody that wants to ask a question? I'll really be doctor. You want to ask questions?
I want to ask.
Who will answer? Who will answer you? By the time a doctor is asking, who will answer you, sir? So you can write the question on Twitter. We will reply on Twitter. When she said there were some people in Ghana are dressing like Burna Boy. I was like, who is Burna Boy? We don't have Burna Boy in Nigeria. We have Burna Boy. Yeah, we have Burna Boy. Oh, Burna Boy.
Butchering my name. Now you're
I've not even started. I'm coming for you. We have a question, right? Well, we'll take just one and then we'll be, yeah. You can just speak.
Mindset of a follower. I am leading. And so when the leader is not there, I am the next person to go stand in his shoes. And so don't see yourself as a follower. Even though you are following people, but see yourself as a leader who is next to take over from the person who is leading you. Thank you.
5 seconds.
I don't know what to say, but it's okay. I would just take a short story from Jesus. See, when Jesus walked this, I'm a subscriber to the Christian faith, so I'll just pick from the grade. Jesus walked this earth, and when he came as a leader, he needed other leaders by picking 12 followers. Now you realize that everything Jesus did, he was expecting the followers to grasp the entire concept of his mission on earth. So they got to a point he asked his followers, who do people say I am? Then they say you are John the Baptist, you are this, and then he asked, who do you say I am? Now what it means is that followers must come to a point where they gain this understanding of the leader's mission. You become one with what the leader embodies. Now when Jesus left, you realize that the disciples had become so much of what Jesus was that people began to say that indeed these people have walked with Christ. Followership is important, else leadership cannot leave lasting legacy. So Jesus would have left the earth, and here we are, we wouldn't know about him. Who was going to carry that message of Jesus across? It was going to take those followers who had become leaders. So we always say that we do not lead followers, we lead leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In Matthew 15:14, Jesus asked, if the blind leads the blind, what will happen? So I'm asking, if the blind is leading the blind, what will happen? Excuse me? That same scripture has the answer to it. They will get somewhere, but definitely in the ditch. So we need leaders that are visionary, that are seen afar off, and followers who are able to catch that same vision and run with the leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, with these 3 points of ours, we have been able to convince you and not to confuse you.
We hope so.
It's all right. Thank you very much. People here together.